Now we're live. Oh, geez. Okay, that pop-up comes and here we are. So I turned off my green screen. I think I was looking so green during Abe's presentation. Actually, all weekend I think I've been looking green. But anyhow, hi, I'm Rand Hoppy. I am the executive director of the Jack Kirby Museum and Research Center.
And I am the president of the aforementioned museum.
You are Tom Kraft.
Yes.
See the name, read it. So what the heck did we do? That was like 3 days of fun, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. I mean,
we got so much great content, wonderful people, great stories, and great research.
Cool. Yeah.
We exposed so much.
We had ourselves a Jack Kirby 3-day Jack Kirby convention, virtual, online with Q&A, interactivity.
What, 19 people?
What's that?
What? How many people? Around 19? Was
19? It? No, I didn't say that.
No, I did. How many? I'm asking.
Oh, the speakers. Oh, yes. Yeah. No, more than that, I think.
Okay.
I think I scheduled 26 of these hour-long things.
Right.
So, really, I couldn't believe it once I finally sat down to do it. Like, really? 9 on Friday, 9 on Saturday, and 8 on Sunday or something like that.
And what's so great is that normally we would be doing a pop-up in Manhattan. And of course we would be having everything online, but the opportunity, and usually the people are, they come to the pop-up and they speak and so forth, and we telecast it. But this has been an incredible opportunity to engage people from all over the world, Australia, everywhere.
Yeah. Oh my
California.
Gosh. Yeah, really, just being able to do it like this and have our friend in France, our friend in Australia, just having this great global Kirby conversation has really been very, very rewarding. We're kind of winding down a little bit. This is our winding down time. We don't really have any guests. It's just me and Tom. All right. But one of the things about, well, like you said, like the pop-up, we're like, we'll have 3-5 days. Those last few pop-ups were so cool because it was with Dan Giela's place, one of the sons of comic book inker Joe Giela, which so we had like a nice comic book family thing going on, and he really seemed to. Well, we enjoyed working with him on that because it was for him it was different because it was comic book stuff, and he's come from a comic book family because he usually deals with New York City artists.
Right.
So we're just had to have. I guess that's how I pitched it, right, to you guys when I was like, whenever that was, it was like, well, let's hurry up and pull a virtual pop-up together in a week and a half. And,
it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that we started this all because we didn't know what to do. And it's like, well, we really want to do something, and we can't get together physically. So what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We'll have a Kirby con, as somebody mentioned.
So, and we diversified our programming as much as we could, and I think it all worked out pretty well. I'll be doing some editing on some videos.
Great, but they'll all be archived on YouTube.
Yeah,
our channel.
We're
so you can always go back and look at them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna remove the ones that I'm editing from Facebook. What do you think, Tom? Should I just leave them on Facebook, or should we just? I don't even know.
I don't know.
I'll figure it out. But we'll we are considering YouTube as the place where we're storing our videos. So that's.
Paul Gravett thinks we should do 4 days for 104.
Why not? As long as we do it. As long as we have more.
It's like back to back, and we have like 5 minutes in between. So if you have to go to the bathroom or eat something, you have to run.
We'll schedule it so that we have a lunch break.
Yeah.
We'll schedule it so that you and I don't have to be on every event.
Yeah.
You had a nice break today when I did
Yes, I did. It was
the
wonderful.
romance comic reading.
Yes.
I'm still waiting for that break, but it's okay.
No, it's been fun.
It really has. Yeah, just the breadth and scope of Jack Kirby and his life and his work is. I mean, witness John Morrow's magazine. He's what is he on issue 80 now, and having started 25 years ago. So
it's amazing. Nobody would have thought that it would have lasted this long.
Yeah,
that there'd be that much stuff to say about Jack Kirby, but apparently there's probably enough to fill another 80 issues.
So, yeah, here's something I'll share with you all. We are paying rent on a physical location. We do have a very small collection space, and I thought I would share that with you, just because we can. And there it is. These are boxes filled with the Kirby family's pencil photocopies.
All in archival boxes,
archival folders. This is some of our stock of prints, an archive of prints and posters, and then some. Actually, I've labeled all of these boxes since I took this photo.
He's a crazy man.
I'm like, you got to do it. Otherwise, you keep opening boxes and looking inside, like, what is this? So, I've labeled them all. These are a bunch of picture frames from our pop-up. Over on the left-hand side, which I do not have a photo of, is a stock of some of the books. The Dingbat Love book that John Morrow published, that we partnered with him on. So if you saw, we had an auction last night. We were auctioning off the museum edition of that. It has it does not have any special content in it. It just has our own cover. It's blue with some different art on the cover. We haven't made it available for sale yet. We were planning to offer it and take it to conventions, just to have it at our booths and have people go, "What? What's the blue one all about?" And perhaps sell it that way. We also have another shelf that has a significant. Well, what's happened is the designer Alex J. and some guy named Rand have been donating comics and to our collection. So we do have a collection of Jack Kirby comics, and Alex has been donating a number of fanzines. So we have a lot of Rocket Blast comic collectors and other fanzines from Alex J's collection that he's donated to us, which it's always great. We're at a New York based convention, and here comes Alex with a bag, and we're like, "Yay, it's Alex!" So yeah, it's pretty great. And he puts little markers on pages in the zines where Jack Kirby's mentioned. So he's clearly going through them to make sure that there isn't anything in there that he hasn't missed, and then passes it along to us. So so we don't have an exhibit space, but we are a physical museum. Who'd have thunk it? And that's why here we are. We've gone through these 3 days with hardly, other than the auction last night, hardly a mention of donations and fundraising and all those kinds of things. So if you please consider donating to us, buying something from us, we can certainly use the help. We are and we're gonna. I guess we'll stop looking at this shelving unit. So compelling. And talk a little bit more about what's basically our big project, right? I mean,
yep.
The biggest, most largest project that basically there was this guy online sent me an email like in 2006. What if we scan Kirby art at conventions? Nah. So
Well, the idea was to really preserve Jack's work, and
right.
And obviously the museum can't buy all Jack's work, especially nowadays. So the idea of archiving it in a format such as DNG, which is a digital format that is archival, and we scan at 1200 DPI, sometimes 6, and we scan the fronts and backs. And we started doing that in 2006, and traveling all over. Every single year we bring our scanners, except for this year, and for obvious reasons. And in some cases, we go to collectors' homes as well. So
that's right.
It's been a huge project, and we've amassed a lot of scans. So we have approximately, 12 to 13,000 scans.
Yeah.
So, and we've assembled them all into our archive, what we call the digital archive. And it's been an effort, and we use those scans right now on Twitter every day. We do Kirby Today, and it's based on when certain issues were released to the public, and we provide like some of the photocopies of his pencils along with some of the printed versions and the original archives that we've scanned over the many years. So it's been 14 years that we've been scanning.
Yeah, and just as a note, if you're a photographer and you're familiar with the RAW format, which is what happens in cameras, and where the file data directly from the sensor in the camera, that's called the RAW RAW format, and that's what the DNG is for scanners. It's called the digital negative, and so that's we're getting the raw data right off of from the negative. I think, Tom, you researched that how many years ago we made that move. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's been really great to have that data on the scanning, and the professional scanners that we use and the ViewScan software makes that all possible. It's really great to have it in that format.
And what's good about that format, it's like he says, it's all the data from the sensors, as opposed to something that's a TIFF or a PNG or a JPEG, which is an interpretation of that data. So once you bring it into a form like PNG, which we have to do in order to show it, then it's destructive, meaning that you're interpreting it into pixels, and pixels, that's just an interpretation, because once it's pixels, you can't really, when you manipulate it, you're not getting a good result. So we always keep in the DNG, the digital negative can't be destroyed, just like old school negatives, you know, that you used to make black and white prints with. You still have the negative.
Yeah. And the way that Photoshop and Lightroom work too, it's really fun. I don't know if it's fun. It's fun. That we've gotten ourselves to the point where even when we're working with these files, we will rotate things because we have to, or we have to blur things out so we can stitch them together. And we've learned the technique that's like non-destructive as well. So even though once we've brought the DNG into Photoshop, we can still be sure that the raw scan, even though it's interpreted into pixels, it hasn't been mucked about with. There's something kind of cool and pure about that Photoshop allows you to do, especially when you get your really powerful processors and a lot of memory. You can kind of do that kind of non-destructive editing, and it's kind of fun. So.
What else is good about that is over time, as we move forward, is somewhat future-proof, because they're constantly improving the process of converting the raw files into pixels and allowing you to do a lot more things with that data. So it's something that is archival, basically, that can improve over time.
Yep. So you want to bring something up? What were you thinking of showing? What was your you had a track you were on, right?
I'll figure it out as I go.
Okay, he's dancing.
I'm improvising.
That's good. Oh yeah.
So actually, let me start with the digital archive. So this is really, these are the master files. These are all the digital let me just see if I can zoom this up a little bit here.
There you go.
These are all the files that we've scanned over time. And what we try to do is keep a decent record of everything, meaning that we put the issue number and so forth and X numbers and basically who owned them, who, when we scanned them, where we scanned them. And then also this is coded to say that we have a complete issue of something. So we have an excellent representation of all the comic book stuff that Jack's done over the years. And there's, as I mentioned right now, we have, let me just go down. I mean, if you just look at the quality and the quantity of stuff that we have, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Eternals, complete issues. I'm not going to go too far, but lots of Fantastic Four. But
you can get a sense of how many. I mean, and this is just the comic book pages. You can see down below that Tom's got tabs for comic strip, photocopy.
Yeah, so it's
as well.
So these are all the strips and photocopies. So it just goes really on and on. So we've been building the spreadsheet and database as we went along. There's still a ton more work. For instance, as we discussed in the animation part, we haven't even started trying to figure that all out because it's just like so much stuff. So the goal is to eventually bring this stuff online into the collection's website. And in order to do that, there's still a lot more work that needs to be done on collecting data and organizing everything.
Yeah.
It hasn't been done yet. And that we could use an intern or somebody to help us out with as well.
Yeah. But
so then a number of years ago in 2010, I started building a website called What If Kirby, because at that time we didn't have anything online at all. So I wanted to at least the first version of the site was very focused on creation, what I called creations, which was taking some of Jack's pencils that I was very influenced by on the Jack Kirby collector back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and having inkers. I'd like box all the pencils by hand and have different people like Mike Royer, Joe Sinnott, Dan Atkin, Greg Thieston, a bunch of people re-inking stuff. But then eventually in 2010, I got involved with the Jack Kirby Museum. And so we discussed putting something online because I had the format already built, and I built it in Drupal, which was an open source content management system. So it was an easy thing to do. I wouldn't have to start from scratch.
Right.
So over the following several years, we put up almost 1,300 pages, which is a far cry from what we actually have.
Yeah.
So about maybe 2 years ago or a year ago, Rand suggested a collections website, and we discussed, and he threw originally I thought it was just going to be the digital archive, but then we discussed, and it was his idea to do a catalog raisonné. And Rand, do you want to explain what a catalog raisonné is for those who don't know?
It's a term from the art world that is a record. Oh, I'll put my camera back on.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's a term from the art world that is a catalog of an artist's work. It can be certain aspects of an artist's work, like there could be but it's generally just you get to see the artist's work, catalog.
It's usually chronological.
It's usually chronological.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be like Alexander Calder. Here are his sculptures. Here's his other stuff. They may separate it out. But what was that website that you've been looking at? Remember the
the catalog raisonné.
Yeah,
scholar.
Yeah. But there was an artist website catalog that you were referring to as well, right?
Catalog. Oh, right. Yeah. So there's a couple. So
there we go.
There's a couple of online catalogs that try to do this as well, and they do a good job. So like the Henry Moore catalog raisonné is an interesting one, and it allows you to do a lot of things like time segments. I can just look at stuff from a certain period. I could look by date, by collection type, by artwork type, and all these types of things. And then, of course, you can get into the detailed images and get a description and all this type of work. And there's filters and so forth. But you could also look at it as a list or a table, and get more information.
Yeah.
So these were some of the sources of inspiration when we thought about it. Another good one is the Paul Cézanne catalog raisonné. It's looks a little bit old, being so narrow and so forth.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But it's not bad. It really has a lot of information, catalog entries and so forth, and publishing references. So when we thought about doing something like this for Jack Kirby, that doesn't exist. There's nobody that's ever done anything for a comic book artist. It just, it's usually for fine art. So what we did was these were inspirations, but we made a decision that it's based on work that was first published. And the Jack Kirby checklist was the start of us looking at this. And we had John Morrow and so forth gave us access to all the files, so we could use that as a starting point. And of course, there's other great places like the Grant Comic Book Database that's definitely an inspiration for a lot of the stuff that we're thinking about doing. So,
Richard Kalkman doing making that checklist for John. But yeah.
And we have a lot of other resources, like on our Fourth World series, we've been talking about X numbers and so forth. So there's other people that have done some research on X numbers. And the great thing is this all ties into the catalog, into the digital archive, because we have scans of a lot of the original art. In a lot of cases, nobody knew what the X numbers were because they were whited out or not included. But
not included in the printing.
Yeah, but in the original art, in a lot of cases, it's either on the back or along the top. So, so we have the most complete list of X numbers and references. So this is what we built out for the catalog raisonné, which is a ton of stuff, citations, and we focused on release dates. And a lot of the comic books back in the day had the comic code authority date on it, stamped on the back. So we have those dates as well. Let me just try to get to. So we but not always, and especially modern comics. Once it stopped, we don't have that any longer.
Yeah.
But what else we have is a date created. So this is an important date to us, and we have some of that information from Nuff Said from John Morrow when he did the book. He also had a spreadsheet available.
Yeah, Stuff Said. Yeah.
Yep, Stuff Said. I'm sorry, and then also the X numbers that we have also have approximate dates. We can use those in order to determine when things were published. And so we have all the information for comic books completed, although there's some things we need to clean up on this. And we've determined at the end, going through just comic books, way at the end. And if you look on the left side, we're into 3,000 different things.
Yeah.
4,000. That there is approximately.
Yeah, you have your totals.
Yeah, so these are the totals of pages that Jack did based on our research thus far. So we estimate at 24,313.75 pages. But if you ever looked at The Art of Jack Kirby by Ray Wyman, they indicate at the back that there were 22,404. So there was actually approximately 2,000 more pages of comic book art. Right. That's not counting comic strips, which we haven't even started yet.
Right.
And then also that's not counting unpublished pages and works, which we're going to have another list together. So once we get all this information together, now we started to think, well, we still have to put this stuff online. So there's two aspects to it. There's a catalog raisonné, and then there's the digital archive. Right. And
so the catalog raisonné is a listing of things, that's searchable and it'll show you his work. But the digital archive is where we hold reference scans or references to the scans that we've made.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And so this is actually the archive. And this is all the pages that we've scanned thus far, literally. And we've divided it all. Animation, there's a ton of animation. This is just original art. And then there's comic books, but within comic books, we've divided out all the issues like Atlas, 2001, Amazing Tales, Amazing Adventures, I mean. Let's see.
You see that, the larger art, we prefer to scan in 3 pieces, particularly the panel pages. So like scanning that large art, it's not just, our scanners are only 11 by 17. They're really great, high quality Epson professional scanners, but they're not 18 by 24.
Right. And the thing is that once you open these digital files, some of these say that it's like 66 megs, and others say, it's, let me just look for a second. A lot of these are in halves and so forth, and the backs are all here as well. But once you open these things up, they turn into like a gig.
Yeah.
So if you had scanned these things as a TIFF file originally, like a lot of people do nowadays, you would have a gig file. But because of the digital negative format, it really expands once you open it up. So
it does, yeah.
You really need a powerful computer. I mean, I have the new Mac laptop. I have an i9 processor, 64 gigs of RAM, and it still chugs along. It's it's really slow.
Yeah.
Even to render these things, it's very slow. But we have a lot of great stuff, and we really want to get it out to people. And then going further down the archive, comic strips. So we have a ton of comic strips too. Yeah. Some old stuff, his first stuff, Black Hole, a lot of random work that he did for proposals to do comic strips that he never did. Chip Hardy, Green Hornet, did a couple strips on that. Master Jeremy, so forth. Then we have commissions and sketches.
So I put up our welcome to the 1990s marquee. Just if you guys, I believe I set up an easy way to donate if you're interested in providing us with some financial support for this project, to help us feel like we've raised money during this three-day weekend. Obviously, we weren't passing the hat and ringing the bell, every hour on the hour.
Yeah, we didn't want to be tacky during this whole thing. We wanted to focus on the research.
It was free, free admission. Yeah. How about throwing us a few bucks, whatever, We appreciate it. All the help that anybody could provide. And we appreciate just the interaction and passing along the knowledge and sharing the knowledge.
And this one's for Elena. There you go, Big Barda.
Alana, look at that. Yeah.
Original.
Yep.
And these are just all concept stuff. And you did a lot of stuff. This is stuff to sell, basically. And then costume designs he did, and you could talk about this, Fran.
Oh man, yeah, wow, what a big surprise that was. Apparently they were being shown at conventions, maybe even some of the conventions that I saw Jack Kirby at when I was young. Like a teenager, but he had done these. This guy Sheldon Feldner called up Marvel in '69 or late '68 and said, "Hey, I'm a theater director at UC Santa Cruz. We want to put on a Shakespeare play, Julius Caesar, but I don't know. Did he call and say I want Jack Kirby, or did he say I want a Marvel Comics artist?" I don't know, because I didn't get to talk to Sheldon, because once I figured out who he was, he had passed away. But I think it actually Stan Lee mentions it in one of the bullpen bulletins. The end of that part of the story is that Stan Lee said, "Well, you're in luck. Jack Kirby just moved to California, so why don't you give him a call?" Sheldon called Kirby. I think Sheldon and some of the students went and visited the Kirbys in Ventura County. from Santa Cruz, and Jack said, "Sure, I'll design costumes for you, you crazy kids, pro bono." So, and that's what he did. So, can you get back to some of those Caesars again? Just because I want to look at them a little bit. Okay, yeah. No, that's cool. So, there's a bunch of them that seem to be missing. Obviously, there's some major characters.
And we just found a new one.
We found a new one.
Yeah, in a box that Roz gave to a collector last year in San Diego.
So it's just one of the great things. One of those great little nuggets of Jack Kirby stuff. There's the fabric in the back from the costume department. When they actually did make these costumes. There are photographs. Actually, there's there was an appearance of some photographs in a yearbook that was then Xerox was taken of and then sent to me to scan. And that through that process, you can kind of look at some grainy photographs of people on stage wearing some of these costumes. We've been contacted by a number of people over the years trying to figure out if they can use them or do something with them. But it's Jack Kirby in 1916. So yeah, Jack Kirby, 1969 costume designs. I mean, they're just awesome. And it's got that, that Dr. Martin colors. Oh, here's some of the kind of ephemera.
Then we also have like documentation that some letters that Jack wrote, photos, his war letter. And then it goes on to merchandising, all the stuff he did for Superpowers back in the 90s, 80s, 80s,
80s.
Yeah. For the toys that he did.
Yeah.
And then his
look, Darkseid's in a chair. What do you know?
I know, isn't that funny? It's always in the chair.
He's always in a chair. That's a running gag.
And as you can see, it take a long time to even load because they're so huge.
Even on your fancy computer.
Even on my fancy computer.
That's right.
And then we have the photocopies, which that alone, there's 8,000, approximately 8,000 pages, probably a little more.
Yeah.
And those themselves are divided by different types. So we have comic books.
Yeah.
And then we have all these for comic books. Yeah. Which is a ton.
Yeah.
And this is all mostly from the family collection. I also own a lot of that.
That's right. It's 97% the Kirby family collection that we have here.
And some are from Greg Thieston's collection too, over the years.
So yeah, they're really, really fun to see.
And that goes back into the same original art, kind of like hierarchy, commission, comic strips.
We
have all this stuff. And it could include pencils. It could include photostats, and it could be the inked work as well. So it could be a lot of different things. Then going down further, then portfolio work, posters.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
Our friend Paul has a question. You have any thoughts?
What's the question? Okay, sorry. What?
What's the most strange thing we've discovered on the back? Oh, you know what?
The palette.
Okay, there was the palette. Was the directions to Stan Lee's house on the back of a piece of artwork?
Doesn't ring a bell, but there might be.
I remember seeing like handwriting on the back of something, and it was like, turn left at the club, and it's Richard. Stan Lee lived on Richards Lane. So, I think that's where Richards came from for Reed Richards in Hewlett on Long Island. So that was it's like, really? Okay. Directions to Stan Lee's house. What else has there been on the back?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to I think it's Younger Romance. Yeah, here. This is interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
it looks like Jack at one point. We're assuming his jacket might not have been, but based on these colors, it looks like Jack's palette.
It does.
There's a lot of pink and a lot of oranges. He loved pink and oranges.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, and you can even see like some kind of stain. It probably was a white out bottle or something, or probably some inks or something. But that was an interesting one. I'm trying to think what else. There's a lot of, oh, I know another one that you probably seen this before. Fantastic Four. No, I mean in general.
Oh, in general. Oh, well, yeah. Number 3, sure.
Yeah,
that's famous.
It's been printed before, but we actually scanned it, archival.
Because it was the issue of the costumes and
was it 3? It was 3, right?
Yeah.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. I just saw it, I think. And this is interesting on the back of some of these because Stan will sometimes draw in issue 3. He'll draw like some kind of breakdown.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that came from. If it was a thing where, because this matches like the next page or.
Yeah, I think there's been an analysis of this. I wish I I could remember. It might be Chris Tolworthy. Kind of did some analysis of what that was all about. After Jack brings the story in, and apparently Stan wants changes, which is frustrating. Come on, where's the good? There's costume stuff, right?
Where? Here?
Yeah, that. What's that all about?
It's just him drawing stuff.
Oh, more continuity stuff.
It's actually upside down. But
yeah, that's fine. Anyhow, there was like logo stuff, right? And
there's notes on the back.
Stan, that's Stan's handwriting.
Yeah, that's definitely Stan. Yeah.
In order not to burn, to blend out, troops also attack. Yeah.
So this could be also like Jack's, like his conversation with Jack.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, no. I mean, that was the thing. I asked Steve Sherman Friday night when we were kind of just hanging out, and we had a toast to Jack for his what would have been his birthday, and read the nice note from Lisa Kirby to the friends and fans. At the beginning, Steve Sherman was there, and I was just like, what was going on with like the surfer, and why is the surfer the only one that's acknowledged? And Steve just said something great. He said Jack started mailing the art in, and there's that. That's.
Do you have any scans of Jack's cartoon storyboards and cartoon concepts?
Oh, you missed it yesterday. We did it. Check out the cartoon
animation
serial video from yesterday morning. We went through all of that stuff.
Yep, all this animation stuff. We have tons of it. This is the original art version of it, but then we also have a lot of photocopies.
Yeah, but definitely check out that video. It was
we went through the whole.
We went through a lot of all this stuff. Yeah. Don't show it again. I don't want to see it.
It's just too weird.
It's too much. Turbo Teen, freaky.
So the question is, how do you take all this stuff and looking back at what a catalog raisonné is, and how do you organize it? Because catalog raisonnés, again, are based on fine art, and it's usually just like a piece. It's almost like, so it's somewhere in between a digital archive and a catalog. So we have both. So the catalog is going to be really focused on just the ability to research. So if I want to look and I want to see, okay, in 1964, in the month of May, what was on Jack Kirby's drafting table? Yeah. There might have been Thor. He was working on that issue. He might have been working on the Fantastic Four issues. And we feel that would be a great benefit for researchers and historians and also fans just to know.
Yeah.
So let me just get. So this is and Rand hasn't seen this either. So I've been working on the general design of this.
What am I looking at? Hey.
So it's a collection website with a photo of Jack Kirby in the library, which I thought was kind of fun because it kind of relates.
Yeah.
And so the collection's website, and we tried to keep the branding similar to like our business cards and the way we look.
Yep.
Catalog raisonné, the Jack Kirby catalog raisonné, the Jack Kirby digital archive. So So the catalog would be an introduction, but would be broken down. Right now, we're still trying to figure out the organization, but it could be published comics. And one of Rand's suggestions was, let's not break it down to comic books and this and that. It's all comics, and it could be in a book, it could be in a comic book, it could be in a magazine or a brochure.
Right.
Which I thought was a great idea because it makes it simplifies things.
Where are you going to put the life and times of Jack Ruby? I mean, it was a comic. It may have been published in Esquire, but Jack made a comic, so it's comics.
Right. And I just want to say that any ideas that you guys have, feedback, you could just email us at info@kirbymuseum.com. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Like, I wish it would do this. I don't think it's doing that. I'd like to know, especially from historians, but also from fans as well.
Sure.
So in this case, I want to explore published comics because that's the only one I laid out. So the idea here is that it's kind of mixed because it could be comic books, it could be comic strips.
Right.
And we're playing around with this idea of this visual representation. You might have seen something similar to this in newspaper.com, where you could select a time period, and I could further, have all the filters on the left side. I can say, I just want comic strips.
Yep.
I want this publisher. I only want to look at fantasy. I only want to look at Golden Age. I want to go by contributor, and then these little codes here, because Jack Kirby's name is twice. These are ones that he did layouts for. These are ones he did pencils for. So you could pick that way. And the more button would open up into like a bigger selection, like a listing of a lot of different things. Like obviously there's not enough names here. And I don't want to, drag it all the way down to the bottom. And then also by title, could be Johnny Reb, which is a strip that he ghosted with Frank Giacoya. Sky Masters, it could be Avengers. So we try to keep it that way. And then you could also, if you become a member, you're going to have additional functionality, meaning that I could save a search. So if I spend a lot of time getting the search together, and I want to save it in my museum page, because you'll have a profile as a museum member, you'll be able to store this information, so I can go back to it. I could also like pages.
That's always one of our challenges, because we are, we're mostly virtual, although I will say, look at that shelving unit I showed you earlier. But anyhow, what do we offer a member? What is the benefit of membership other than knowing that you're supporting our efforts? It used to be that you could become a member and you'd get a T-shirt or no, you wouldn't get a T-shirt. You'd get a poster or a print that was donated to us. And we're just looking to figure out how we develop our membership program. So, and we feel that like having some access, different access to the catalog and the archive is probably the most attractive aspect of what membership could bring.
Comic Legend, yes. There's one thing that's not listed as a filter on the left. It would be pencils versus inks. So there'll be photocopy pencils.
Right.
So that would probably appear over here. And then there'd be a global search. So it would slide out, and there's also an advanced search, but I could search by all these different criteria directly. So title, story, creator, writer, penciler, so forth. And then you could also filter search this. So if there's a keyword I only want to look at within the results, I could filter that as well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, publication date is really important to us. So we're listing since it's a catalog raisonné, it needs to be, by definition, be chronological. So in this case, this is release date. So these dates actually are release dates, yes. But we'd also be able to do creation date and publication date. So so when you click on these things, it would all reformat. And also, as you add filters, they would appear up here, and you could turn them on and off. And again, once you've spent all this time, and this is one of the frustrating things I have with a lot of different sites, is you spend this time getting this great search result and messing around with all these filters, and it's really time consuming. And then you come back the next time and you've lost all that, and I want to look back at something and I can't.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important in my opinion. And then you'd also be able to get different views. So for instance, I could look at the list view and get a long list of stuff by date. And again, I could filter this so I can look down the list and say, okay, Jack was working on XYZ through this list. And then I could also decide what columns I want on the, I could say I want these columns and it would replace these columns. So I could go through stuff and decide what I want to see. So again, all the stuff theoretically would be, you could save it. And so that's as far as we've gotten so far. And then the digital archive, we haven't gotten anywhere with because I've been focusing on the catalog right now.
Yes.
But eventually this would go into something similar to the What If Kirby website.
Yeah.
So once we've gotten this design kind of figured out, I went through and started a functional document. I've created a lot of websites in the past. I started doing websites at the beginning and, the early 1990s was my first website. And I currently, and I worked at an agency for many years, managing a whole team of developers and project managers and so forth, building websites and mobile applications. And right now I'm designing applications in terms of like UI, UX. So I go out and do usability testing and so forth. And so you guys are my test right now.
Right.
So this is the functional document. And really it just explains what our purpose is, our scope, point of contact, assumptions, constraints, the organization of the site, what it needs to do. And it's going to be really for our members as well. So when you donate, when you become a member at the Kirby Museum, you'll have this kind of access. And the public will have a lot of access, but the functionality won't be as much. And just to mention, in the digital archive, we can't show complete issues of all our stuff. It's just it's because of rights. There's a fine line between how much we can show and how much we can't. However, if you are in the media or you're doing a book or you need a publication or you're doing an exhibition in Europe or anywhere in the world, we're going to have the ability to allow you to have full access to the archive for a limited time.
Right.
Because it can't be public, because we also do research and we also prepare files, which take a long time. And so we charge for that. So there would be a way for like a cart system where people doing research can add it to their cart and then they could check out and make a request to us. And we cannot provide legal rights to use the publications. Anyone, if it's Marvel, they have to go back to Marvel to get rights.
Yes.
So I just want to emphasize that we can't do that, but we can provide images and stuff, and we need to see the permission from Marvel or DC Comics that they can have it.
You go to other museums' websites and look at media services or image services. It's pretty standard practice. I do it in my day job at the Hoboken Historical Museum. Just working with people all the time for their books or movies or even personal projects, etc. That's one of the revenue streams of an organization like this.
Right.
I'm trying to find this cool video. I thought I could kind of finish it up with a cool video of Jack and Roz, and I'm having a problem.
So we presented this information, and I solicited 3 or 4 different. Once we get done with the design, as far as I'm concerned, and we make sure that it meets all the criteria for people, and we test it with people and get their feedback, and we agree that this is going to be the design moving forward.
Yes.
We need to get a developer basically to do this. We can prepare images. We're looking for volunteers to help us do that, but it's a huge body of work, and it's not something that's going to happen like in 3 months. So when we launch the site, it's going to be different phases. We're going to probably we'd like to launch a catalog first and maybe some of the digital archive, but as we backfeed all this, we'll be adding stuff. And then we haven't decided how much we want to have comments and reviews from people, and it might be a situation where we do have them, but they have to be submitted, because my experience in the What If Kirby website was sometimes it got out of control and people were saying things that they shouldn't be saying. So we want to make sure that we curate any kind of comments and reviews that people might have about things.
Yes.
So anyway, so I got a rough idea for development, and the lowest fee right now is $60,000, and the highest is somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000. So once we get to that point, we're going to need to do a Kickstarter. We're going to need to fundraise, because it's not cheap. You know, developers are generally between 150 to 250 an hour. So, and this is tons of hours.
Yeah, no, it's huge. Yeah.
So we need your help. And, you know, my time is free, and Rand's time is free. All this work that we've done it's all free, and it's all to promote the museum and all that. But and I have experience doing front end development, so I'll definitely be involved in trying to make sure that the cost is as low as possible with me doing stuff, you know, to help. But developers generally are not free, and it's hard to find somebody that's willing to donate their time like that.
That's right.
Because I've looked, and most of the people that donate time are for simple WordPress sites or even Drupal sites. They're very simple. There's nobody willing to do the hard work, which is this has got to be really a lot of fancy programming, because you got to be able to, you know, make sure that it performs well. You got to make sure that the search and everything's fast, and there's a lot of technical issues with this. And so that's the archive. That's where we are with it. Yeah. I wish I could say that we're going to be launching like in 2 or 3 months. Everybody keeps on asking me that, but
why can't you show me the more art, Tom?
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, yowzers, it's not cheap. Believe me.
Yeah, it's not. And even when you know, when there's somebody, you know, is looking for something and we work it out, or even you know, we're posting stuff to the Jack Kirby Today thread on Twitter, on the social media. You know, it takes time to process things. It's not like we have everything at hand ready to go. So the site is going to be a significant project, and we're back, and I'm huge. That's not
fair. Okay.
But yeah, so that's the big project, and any help you can offer would be welcome.
So Barry, what do you mean by special editions, special subscriptions, memberships to give people access? Yeah, I think we want to keep, definitely the catalog is going to be open to everyone. We don't want to restrict that. And right. I forgot to show one other part of that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I mean, it's just minor, but. So when you, let me get back to. So if you do pick one, let me just go here. Then we also have, of course, a detailed view. And this I literally threw it together before the show because I didn't have time. But you'll be able to then flip through everything that you see and get all the information. There's going to be other things on the side, like number of views, maybe some comments. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
That's the footer. I haven't done that yet either. But you'll be able to flip through your search results, which is really good. So you don't have to keep on going back to the list.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, there was another thing that I was trying, and I don't know if it makes sense. I was going to have like a section on the different titles and information about the titles and about where Kirby was with those.
Right.
But I kind of didn't do that. So
yeah.
Because this is more than enough. I don't want to get into writing, content for every single title he did because
right.
he did so much.
Too much. Yeah.
It's way too much already.
It
is. It's way too much already. So.
So I don't know. Shall we close it up? Shall I offer this grand finale of a cool video. I hope it plays and you can hear the audio. I'm probably not going to hear the audio because that's what happened to me earlier.
Let me also mention that we've been archiving and organizing all of Jack's interviews. We have a lot of video segments.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we've been assembling Jack's videos, and we've also been transcripting a lot of that. And that kind of information will either go in a digital archive or back to the main museum website. So the main museum website is not going away. It's a great resource as well with all the blogs and information. This is just a different animal. I mean, it's we didn't want to try to stuff it into the main site because it would get too confusing. It wouldn't work.
Too much. Yeah. All right. So let's see if I can make this happen. For those of you who are still with us, and we'll come back and we'll after this and say, oh, you know what? Well, let's see what happens if I do this. Can you guys hear that? Tom?
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Give me a second. Remove. Okay. Remove. Share screen. Share audio. I forgot to click the share audio button.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. That was the trick last time. Somebody actually in the chat room pointed it out to us. So that was very helpful. Here we go. Let's see.
B is the artist who brought life to several comic superheroes. And Sam Schulden has this story.
For Jack and Roz Kirby, these boxes of comic book drawings have special meaning. Jack helped create such multi-million-dollar characters as Spider-Man, Captain America, the Incredible Hulk, and a host of other superheroes, and helped Marvel Comics to become the giant it is today. For over 30 years, with attorneys, the Kirbys have battled Marvel to get back the original artwork to provide a college nest egg for their granddaughter and grandson, and retirement. The return of 7 boxes of that artwork represents sort of a victory.
I'm not a vindictive person. I think what Marvel finally did was a very fine gesture. Sure, it still hurts, and I still feel those hurts, but they're kind of numb, and I've never really allowed them to ruin my life or linger in my thoughts.
These boxes of drawings only represent a partial victory for the Kirbys. Jack Kirby would like to receive creative credit. Marvel has given all the credit to comic book writer Stan Lee for creating many of its superheroes, when in fact, many comic book readers will say it was both of their creative talents. For the Kirbys, it's not copyrights or ownership.
It has nothing to do with money. I'd like my grandchildren to know that it was their grandfather who created or helped created, and helped create all of these characters.
Jack Kirby will soon celebrate his 70th birthday. As for an ideal present, Jack says it would be nice if Marvel imitated the superheroes he helped create. So right or wrong, and be fair. In Thousand Oaks, this is Sam Schulin, Channel 5, News at 10.
That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a key moment when he received all his art back.
Yeah. And that is it for us. Stop sharing the screen. It's you and me.
Now we're going to both pass out and wake up tomorrow because we're so exhausted.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. It's 3 days. We look forward to the next one.
Yep. And we'll see you online. All right.